Hello, everybody. I'm sure, like most people, and absolutely like musical people, I get some music that's stuck in my noggin, and it'll ping pong around in there for quite a while if I let it. I've often said that it's impossible for anybody. I worked with a coworker who said I can put any song in anybody's head, and I said bullshit. And he tried, and and then he wandered back like 10, 15 minutes later or whatever, and he was like, it's still in there, isn't it? And I said no. And he looked at me quizzically, and I said, dude, I keep a very large catalog of Iron Maiden and Rush on hand for that specific purpose. There is no song inside my head that I don't say can be there. And so the one that's kind of bouncing around right now is the one that I'm letting in. And it is the music for the end credits to The Untouchables by Ennio Morricone. And a fun personal fact is that Maestro Morricone and I share a birthday. Which is just kind of cool. But to The Untouchables, and I think this might be the first quick album review that I do. I remember when this movie came out, and I didn't get to see it in the theaters because I was fairly young. I might have been, I don't remember exactly when it came out, but I was probably 14 or 15. But a friend of mine had cable, and so it came on, and we saw it on cable, and of course freaked out because it was such a great movie, and that was kind of the time when I was going through sort of the gangster mob phase, kind of learned about Prohibition and Elliot Ness and Al Capone, but I think I'd also read The Godfather, and this was about the time I think maybe The Sicilian came out, and so I read that too. Just sort of the history of organized crime in America was really interesting and really fascinating to me. In some ways, it still really kind of is. And that can be a whole nother thing that I'll probably get into. Anyway, like I went so far as to read Elliot Ness's autobiography and everything, so I was kind of like eating all of that stuff up at about that period of time. I was I was definitely the target demographic for that movie, even though it was rated R and I probably shouldn't have been watching it, but there were a lot of movies I probably shouldn't have been watching saw Jaws when I was 5 years old, for God's sake. So anyway, but one thing I definitely noticed, and even my friend was captivated by right away, was the main title sequence. It was just this really, like it was cool. It was intense. It was dangerous. Like it's just that the music for the beginning title of the Untouchables is very foreboding. It makes no qualms about the fact that really dark, evil shit is going down. And his theme for Al Capone is just so grandiose and haughty. Like, you could almost just drop it right over the top of the theme that John Williams used for Jabba the Hutt and get exactly the same result, even though they're tonally and timbrally very different. It's just, it's grandiose and rich and lavish and just like, it's the glitz and the glamour of being a gangster. And it also, a couple of years later, I listen and find out that it's also musically a fantastic homage to sort of the B theme of The Godfather, Nino Rota. This one was particularly significant for me because it really put Ennio Morricone on the map for me. This was kind of in the middle of like this phase that I went through that was like, every film should be scored by James Horner. It kind of helped like rattle some shit loose in my head that's like, dude, there's guys out there that you've never heard about before and that have been doing this for years, and they're brilliant. So then it took maybe not too long after that, when I discovered the score for The Mission, which is also just like, my God, Gabriel's oboe still brings me to tears. If you want to hear something really beautiful, check out Yo-Yo Ma playing it on the cello. Gabriel's cello? I don't know. Anyway, it's just, it's a really cool album, and there was a podcast that I was listening to, just talking about the perception of black gangster movies versus white gangster movies, and just sort of in culture there is a glamorization of the white Italian gangster, and a, how shall we say, thugization of the black and Latinx gangster. Me personally, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Give me gangster movies. Love them. I'm a gangster movies. They're probably my second favorite genre to sci-fi, but and not to discredit the point that was because he, these podcasters absolutely do have a legitimate point. I'm not disavowing that at all. They yes, absolutely. I'm just saying, me personally, I like gangster movies. I don't care what color you are. Anyway, the point being, after listening to these guys talk about this site, I was just kind of like, I think I need to revisit that Untouchables soundtrack. And I did. It's great. Just some really cool themes, some of the others, kind of like the theme of the Untouchables, as the group, when they go storming across the bridge in Canada to take the load of booze that's getting ready to cross the border. It's fantastic. It's epic. It's heroic. And then, of course, this theme is reprised again at the end credits. But, there's also a really beautiful piece in the middle. I think it's just called Elliot Ness and His Family. And it's just really beautiful, it's I don't know, like, God, how do you even write moments like that? But, the maestros figure that stuff out. So, kind of a haphazard album review, but if it's never been on your radar, if you're not familiar with Ennio Morricone, for me that was the gateway album. So anyway, I'm just about to work now, so time to sign off. Looking at the timestamp, it's starting to get a little long anyway. So hey, if you like this, please like, subscribe to our channel, and happy creating.